Welcome to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast with your host, Brandon Seigel. I'm a published author, speaker, entrepreneur, and private practice strategist dedicated to transforming the way that healthcare functions. This podcast is all about empowering you to create the change you want to see. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. So in this episode, we're talking about succession planning, the art of planning for the future. So we want to understand not just where we're going and growing, but where you want to be, where your staff wants to be, and what does this organization look like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now. So it's so funny because if you said to me, hey, Brandon, if I asked you about succession, how many years are you away from that? I would say it depends on what you mean. So my role, my day-to-day, my ownership, my investor, where I'm at, etc. But it could be, I've got a 5-year succession. I've got a 10-year succession. I have a 15-year succession. 15 years right now is kind of where I can't see past 15 years at this moment. But these are things to keep in mind. And so by defining what a succession plan may mean to you, and I think that's important, you're going to be able to identify future stakeholders that reside within your organization. You're going to be able to create a roadmap to leadership to recruit future needs from within the organization. You're going to identify your team's lifespan and strategize for transitions. And you're going to have an internal growth plan for optimized business growth and consistency. And ideally, you will understand the role that selling your private practice or cashing out your equity means in terms of your initiatives, because that can mean so many different things. Sometimes you think succession is all about selling. Succession is about the transition of leadership and focus within your organization, and selling your practice might be part of your succession objectives. So, succession is not synonymous with an exit strategy, but an exit strategy is optimized with a succession plan. The more that your plan has concrete, you're going to be able to be more successful. So most successful entrepreneurs who exit their business have planned their exit strategy way in advance. So they had a compass of where they're going, what needs to be achieved, and who should be part of that ride. And so it's important that you understand succession is not defined as selling your practice. A succession plan may result in selling your practice, but that is the specific to the succession of your ownership function. There are plenty of owners that are investors, but create succession plans for all the functions and don't sell their practice, but hold on to ownership. Today, we will first look at succession planning as a functional activity, and then we'll plan to discuss the ingredients for selling your practice. But very interesting enough, about 10 years ago, my mother-in-law, who owns one of our practices, we looked at it and she didn't bring it up. She didn't say, Brandon, I want to sell my practice. I said, hey, we need to look at if selling your practice makes sense in your succession. And we went through all of the hoops and we looked at everything and we evaluated everything. And at the end of the day, what we recognized was selling the practice did not align with succession goals of who, what, where, when we wanted to be part of this practice. It also did not financially make sense because what we recognized is we were able to create a succession plan that allowed her to free from her day-to-day requirements while allowing her to make more money as an investor than she would if she had just sold her practice. So think of things outside the box. Don't get stuck that you must sell your practice. Sometimes you're done with being a business owner and you don't value the shares of your business. So I recognize that. The reason why I'm looking to acquire businesses and practices is because I can see when someone has undervalued the potential of what the business can earn for them. And they're so tired of the work that they don't recognize the asset they developed. So, succession, as a definition, it means a number of people or things sharing a specified characteristic and following one after the other. She had been secret or secretary to a succession of board of directors. So that is one way. A group of strata representing a single chronological sequence. The other definition is the action or process of inheriting a title, office, property. The new king was already elderly at the time of his succession. So the right or sequence of inheriting a position. Make sense? Okay. So, when we look at the basics of succession planning, the purpose is complex. It's not simply about damage control or replacing a key leader as quickly as possible. It's replacing function or a leader with someone prepared for the role, with the potential to succeed, who can shift into that position both successfully, but it doesn't have to be quickly. So sometimes we know, hey, I know that my HR director wants to retire in 15 years. Who could become the successor of that role? By building a succession planning process or framework, it's about mitigating the risks of organizational change. This way, when a change at the very top occurs, the friction between departments, teams, and employees is reduced or becomes non existent because the vacuum of institutional knowledge is removed. So, my we had a succession of clinical director in our company. My mother-in-law was the founding member and the founding clinical director. She was our clinical director for many, 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 many years. And about 10 years in to her before her retirement, we started to groom the successor. And it started with you're going to be a clinical supervisor. Then it was a clinical manager. Then it was assistant clinical director. And now she is clinical director. We built the framework, we positioned her, and it worked seamlessly. And so, best practices for succession planning go beyond leadership. Don't just think about managers and leaders, look at who's departing. Maybe it's a medical billing person, maybe it's a salesperson, whoever that is, look at that. Research your market trends. How in demand are certain positions across your workforce? Your competitors may be trying to lure away some of your valuable talents. Keep an eye on which positions are currently popular, harder to recruit for, and keep them in mind. Consider your company history. Who has been around longest? Who was present for key events in the lifespan of the company? Who has special relationships that can't be replicated easily? These are roles that may be hard to spot at first, but they could be painful departures if we don't keep our eye on it. And then internal or external, looking at both, figuring out who internally or externally may be able to fill that role. Two of the most common succession planning process mistakes. We underestimate the timing you will need. Start succession planning early. Ideally, you would do so 5 years ahead of time for major executive roles. This would then entail developing steps and processes to find the ideal succession candidate to manage that transition effectively. Not having a contingency plan. That's the second most common mistake. If a key person leaves a company unexpectedly at short notice, their position may remain vacant for some time. So that is if you have not actively planned. So you need to have that contingency plan. Worst case scenario. I always say, play Russian roulette. What happens if this happens? What happens if that happens? How do I plan for the worst? What metrics determine succession planning success? We want to look at turnover rates. If people are leaving more because they're in the wrong position, retention rates, not only if people are leaving, but if your key essential talent is sticking around. Cost per hire. If your hiring costs for key positions is going down or up, this can be impacted by the talent pool. time per hire. Effective succession planning should cut down your hiring time and then planning for positions being filled. Whether your succession planning candidates were deemed ready for the role, all part of the process. So, traditional succession approach. We want to look at our leadership functions, our operation functions, our clinical functions, our ownership functions. We need to define, identify critical roles needs and what they do, develop their leadership profiles, determine the future skills necessary for success, assess your current skills inventory, understand your talent readiness and pipeline potential, and then identify gaps in those roles and the people. Create talent mobility, development, and skills enhancement goals. Incorporate succession into your compensation approach and track and measure progress against goals. I want you to define, diagnose, and develop. I'm going to say that again. Define, diagnose, and develop. Those three things are how we take truly someone and turn them into the hero of our practice. So, the basics for preparing employee succession strategies: step one, identify the key positions within your practice. Step two, pinpoint key skills. Step three, assess your staff. Step four, create a transfer plan. Step five, train your employees. Step six, implement, evaluate, and adjust. What if the success or the person coming in to succeed that manager worked for 18 months under that manager in the full role so that it was so easy peasy, lemon squeezy, you're good to go. Your practice is thriving. You're ready to go. And when you're breaking down your workforce team, understanding how to evaluate for the future is crucial. I love the 9 box grid model. And this 9 box grid model is pretty cool. And basically, it's a tool that facilitates a discussion about employee development and succession planning. It helps your organization find the right employees. It utilizes a matrix that consists of 9 cells. Each employee is measured against 2 factors. What do you think those 2 factors are? Potential, performance. Performance in their current role on the X axis rated as low, medium, or high. Their potential to develop personally or professionally in line with company values is on the Y axis, and that is rated low, medium, high. We look at enigma, dilemma, underperformer, growth employee, core employee, effective, trusted professional, high impact performer, future leader. What do you think is a future leader? It is a high performer with high potential. What do you think is a dilemma? Someone who's underperforming with middle dilemma. Dilemma is the middle potential and a low performer. Now, an enigma, what's an enigma? A low performance with a high potential. A lot of you are like, oh my gosh, they suck at what they do, but Brandon, they've got so much potential. That is enigma. A core employee has middle of the range potential with middle of the range performance. And when I say middle, it's like on target goal. So figure it's goal, performance, goal, potential, core employee. Goal performance with high potential, growth employee. Goal performance with low potential, effective. These are all things we can look at in this 9 box grid. It's so useful. Google it, read about it, study it. I promise you, it's an incredible tool for developing future leaders and those that can be within your organization for many years to come. Something that we need to do in our succession planning is we need to identify significant business challenges in the next 1 to 5 years. What are the challenges happening? Medicaid cuts, labor shortages, reimbursement declines. You must identify all of those. Okay. Step two, identify critical positions that will be needed to support your business and your private practice continuity. So, one of the things I recognized was that the reimbursement for assistance in our practice was no longer viable. And so we would have a need for more fully licensed clinicians because we no longer could handle the assistant approach based on the way that reimbursement was going. So that helped us define where our staffing objectives were because we were able to identify the critical roles that would be needed based on the challenges that were coming up in the next 5 years. We need to then, step three, identify competencies, skills, and institutional knowledge that are critical success factors. And that comes down to core competencies, technical competencies, other skills. What are the unique institutional knowledge or relationships they should have, etc. Step four, identify your high potential employees. This can be clinical, this can be administrative, understanding their potential, where, why, how, when, and the way that you see them as a high potential employee. And step five, select the competencies that you seek out that will needed in your organization to be successful. What are those competencies to meet the identified business challenges? So for me right now, the number one challenge I see in my medical billing organization is AI creating an impact in a way where private practice owners no longer value medical billing professionals. And I always think a medical professional is going to be valuable. I do not believe that technology can replace the skill set or knowledge in how it can be delivered. But I recognize the role of what medical billing will look like is going to look different as things evolve. Administrative tasks and the basics of medical billing may be replaced, but high level consultation, high level knowledge, high level oversight and coaching, um, high level data programming is going to be crucial. Figuring those out and what competencies you need are crucial. You need to create a roadmap and career development and a plan for your high potential employees. Get agreement from employees to co create. This is where I think you can benefit from and where you will showcase a new advantage. Let us create that together. And so when we're creating our succession management plan, you want to consider your organizational strategy. You want to get support from the top. You want to determine the key positions. You want to select who is in the candidate pool and build your talent pipeline. You want to focus on the continuous development of future leaders and regularly monitor, assess, and benchmark their strengths and weaknesses. Invest in software to help you and make succession management a part of your recruitment plan. Where do you go in our organization? How do you grow? And what does succession look like? So my question is, do you have your contingency plan in the event of an unexpected event? How are you protecting your family in the event that something happened to you? Have you checked legally if your family can be your successor as an owner? Do you have all of the data and roles written up in the event of an emergency? If you all of a sudden got kidnapped and taken to Italy for a vacation for 6 years, what would happen? 6 year vacation. Yeah. Do you have a clinical owner successor identified in case of an emergency? These are all things I want you to start to think with. So, strategies for an unexpected loss of an owner. Develop a protection plan for family members and executors. Identify who has the authority to continue the operation. Will it be sold? Will it be liquidated? Will it be continued? Who are the potential buyers or successors? And do they have the cash to activate the purchase in a timely fashion? I want you to identify business continuity insurance that synergizes with emergency succession, term life insurance, permanent life insurance, disability buyout insurance. Don't confuse business continuation with business interruption. They're two different insurance plans. We need to have an exit strategy. We need to enhance the future company worth. A well thought out exit strategy is going to address many of the risks associated with the transition of a small company from one owner to the next. And it ultimately will increase your company value. I recently helped a company sell, and we made it where the investor owner was not required. And we had a clear succession plan with a 5-year strategy. And the new owner investor paid more in multiplier as a result of that. This will also create a smooth transition. An exit strategy allows your employees and management team to prepare for a new future, reduce the risk of any unexpected hurdles, puts them at the seat of the driver's seat to help your company grow, even with new ownership, offers a safety net. So, interesting enough, in this exit strategy, I've said this on multiple podcasts, but uh, I'm a big Rays fan. Um, Technically, the Tampa Bay Rays sold in September of 2025. The first thing that got announced was that the president of the Rays would be stepping down. You don't think that was part of the exit strategy? 100%. In order for the owner to sell, part of that negotiation was the president and leadership would step down and the new ownership would put new leadership in place. That was all part of their exit strategy. So, helping reduce and strategize for the future. And it allowed the organization to honor all of the leaders and create a roadmap where all of those leadership team were contracted as consultants, but they would not carry out their role in the leadership component. The most common reason you're exiting is people burnout. The money's not worth the stress. It no longer fills your bucket. You want to reduce your liability and responsibility, cash out and eliminate the risk, be free to pursue other opportunities, relocation, retirement, work life balance. If you're considering selling your practice, speak with me. Do a free discovery call. Let me understand your why, and I may have recommendations for you because sometimes you're cashing out instead of exiting out. There's two different things. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to cash out, it just makes sense to exit out. So, why most owners are hesitant to plan an exit strategy? They feel guilty. Many private practice owners feel guilty as a result of being purpose driven. I feel guilty that I want to sell. I don't want to feel like I sold out. They're afraid that an exit plan means they are selling out. You're not. There's an emotional attachment. Many private practice owners define the value through their practice, thus creating an emotional attachment. And they're so emotionally invested in their practice that they have trouble confronting the mindset behind an exit strategy. Unknown territory. Many private practice owners don't know that the best practices really require you to plan an exit strategy. It's an unknown territory, but I believe it's really important. Even if it's a 10-year, 15-year, 20-year exit strategy. And then you have to confront hard decisions. Many practice owners get their buckets filled by the purpose of their organization, and confronting an exit strategy prioritizes the business over the patients, and that can be hard. And I get it. So I'm going to challenge you. Are you ready? The four most common reasons why you need an exit strategy. You need one to plan for a disaster. You need one to start a new business. You need one to optimize your tax structuring. You need one to optimize cash flow. Here's how you can plan for your future. Set goals, establish your value, identify and evaluate why, when, how you want to exit, prepare a written exit strategy, protect your business and its values, plan your personal wealth and estate, plan your life after your business. There is no one that does this better than Econologics. And again, they're not paying me, they're not a sponsor. I'm just sharing this because I have seen it firsthand. They have helped me with my own strategies. And I think that this is a game changer. So have your exit strategy planned professionally. No one has to see it except for you, but it is so valuable. And when you have this, it's going to help you also understand so that you're not fire selling, but you are strategically selling when the time is right. And there are many different types of business exits. Some are proactive, some are reactive. Proactive, merger and acquisition, initial IPO, selling of your business to managers, employees, private sale. Reactive, liquidation, bankruptcy. We don't want to get into that. So, breaking down some other proactive business exit options, a family transition. The sale of a family business from one generation to another is an excellent opportunity to achieve liquidity while keeping family members involved in the business. A partnership buy sell. It is common for business partners to have different retirement horizons. When one decides to move on from the other and wants to stay, a buy sell agreement is crucial. If you have a partner, you must have a buy sell agreement already in place. Employee stock ownership plan, that's something that we see sometimes. It's called an ESOP. It allows a business owner to sell all or a portion of their business to their employees. The cash proceeds from the sale are then transferred to the owner, generating liquidity and formalizing the owner's departure from the business. An ESOP is not a traditional corporation. It is a tax-favored trust fund that serves as an employee benefit plan. One purpose is to incentivize employee performance through stock-based compensation. I personally don't do ESOPs. I do profit sharing through 401ks, but it's an option for you to look at. So again, we want to look at family succession, management, employee burnout, partner and investor buyout, mergers, acquisitions, IPOs, liquidation, all things that you want to look at. And so as you do this, you need to identify your ideal succession approach. Forecast it, paint your picture, build a team of strategists that support this, market analysis, succession plan based on functions, high potential staff. Identify your unique business algorithm, a goals and gap analysis, a formal financial business valuation, benchmarking analysis, estate planning support, capitalization and growth planning, cash flow projections and forecast, and create your pro forma based on a 3-year growth opportunity and applicable strategic approach. These are all going to help you. They're going to make you have resources that allow you to unlock the next stage of growth, not just for your practice, but you as an investor and you as a person. Did you know that private practices with formal succession plans in place reported a 35% higher rate of operational continuity during leadership transitions compared to those without such plans? That was from MGMA. Great resources, great opportunities, and you can learn from it. So, in the words of John C. Maxwell and inspired by him, selling your business is not an end, but a new beginning. Pass the torch with pride and step boldly into your next adventure. Thank you for tuning into this episode of the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Seigel. I'm here to help you, so let's connect because together we can thrive, not just survive. Thank you for tuning in to the Private Practice Survival Guide podcast. I'm incredibly grateful to each and every one of you. Exciting news. We're now available everywhere, from Spotify to Apple Podcasts to YouTube or anywhere you like to listen to your podcasts. So watch, listen, and reach out. If you loved this episode, please drop a 5-star review. It truly means the world to me. Are you looking for more ways to elevate your practice? If so, now is your chance. Reach out, go to my website, or email me at brandon@wellnessworksmp.com. And remember, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving.